What's going down? We are back with another State of the Franchise episode. Jason Aponte, Brad Graham, ready to break down what happened last week and also look towards the future with the LA Rams for the 49ers' first division game that we got coming up. But you already know what to do. Drop your spicy sourdoughs in the chat. Smash that like button on both channels. Let's get after it. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. Jason Aponte, good to have you back in the saddle as we get to talk about football for once and actual things that we've got to see with our own eyes, because it kind of felt like the first part of this year has been a little bit of like Mythbusters, right? Trying to bust the narratives from training camp. Oh, Brock Purdy's throwing interceptions every single day. Time to be concerned. Uh-oh. Defense isn't that good. Well, turns out to be the Mythbusters showed up and busted every single one of those narratives.
Yeah, speaking of Mythbusters, and it's great to see you, Brad. And I feel like this weekend has been probably the easiest I've ever had to do analyzing a game, because there's not really much to be upset about, unless your negativity, which is oftentimes not your negativity, but some people.
I'm always negative, Jason.
Not you. Some people choose to be negative, but it's under the guise of realism. I'm a realist. Right. I'm a realist, okay? I keep it real. So
it's constructive criticism.
It's not negative. But one thing about me is I'm petty. And if y'all want me to start being spicy, let's get it. So last week on Wednesday, we were greeted to the news that Nick Bosa signed. And I made the point of stop pocket watching and stop worrying about how players get paid and how much they get paid, because it's not your money. And all I got was, we're salary cap. What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. $42 million now, and they can roll that over into the salary cap. Sometimes it's best to do this and do this. Let the grown-ups speak. And the apology's never as loud as the slander, because I saw it. And it was mostly from some people on Facebook, which I'm not on because I don't care. But, yeah, if you thought I wasn't going to cook, I hope you're here and you're watching. All of this talk about salary cap, and we're not, like, if you believe that the San Francisco 49ers were going to sign Nick Bosa and they were just going to throw their arms up and be like, well, can't sign anybody else, that's it. Sorry. We tried. If you really thought that was going to happen, then you need to reevaluate the way you do this. But notice that it's kind of quiet, now when it comes about that. For me, more than anything, it's more about, again, stop pocket watching, stop worrying about the salary cap, because nobody has an idea of how it actually works and how you can move around it. And stop worrying about how much people get paid, because it's not your money. There you go. That's it.
I like it. And it's true. It's like, why are we talking about the salary cap? You have no idea what loopholes are built into the contracts, how easy it is for them to convert base salary to signing bonus to create cap space. And again, now the 49ers went from the bottom all the way to the top with the most cap space in the NFL. They could do a bunch of different stuff with it, right? They could roll it over into next year. They could be like, hey, we have an issue at this particular position, which we could talk about here in this episode, where we might find some concerns with the roster. And they'd be like, hey, we identified this. Let's go get this guy. And we can front load a contract, do all different types of things. But bottom line is, the 49ers have proven to us time and time again that they know how to manipulate this cap space. So they're in a good spot regardless. So it's a waste of time, right? Trying to basically talk about. Brandon dropping a super chat says, can we start calling CMC White Lightning? Get that trademarked ASAP. The Great White Hope, the Great White Buffalo, Christian McCaffrey. Well, we dropped in that name.
FedEx Ground Player of the Week as well too. I mean, he's pretty good, huh? That's another thing to kind of take a victory lap on, even though nobody ever remembers that. Because remember, you gave up too much for a running back. Why would you do that? They haven't lost a regular season game. They've lost one game, and that was the Chiefs game. I don't even count that one because he didn't even play. And then the NFC Championship game, he was the only one who was doing stuff when they had no quarterback. Do you guys feel okay now with what was sent, or was it too much?
Remember, Jason, any undrafted free agent running back can play in this offense. So why do you need a player like Christian McCaffrey? Why does that matter? Why just plug in Jordan Mason? No disrespect to Jordan. Just plug in anyone, man. We're good to go. Who needs CMC?
Yeah.
Again, football discourse.
Mythbusters.
Mythbusters in full effect. It's been quite the ride. And again, one of the Mythbusters has been about Brock Purdy. And obviously, we've seen how Brock Purdy played. And guess what? It was a lot like he did in team periods and move the ball periods throughout training camp. So what changed? Really, not a whole lot. When you looked at Brock Purdy, 220 yards, again, the game was over at halftime. So they turned into run the ball, run the clock mode. What was your takeaway of what you saw from Brock Purdy? Because, again, you weren't able to go to training camp this time around. And what did you see from Brock Purdy out there?
I mean, if I know that Brock Purdy was starting his 9th, 10th game in the league, but you would have thought he's a 5-6 year veteran. And it's sure, it's the pocket presence, it's the going through progressions. And what I mean by pocket presence is stepping away, stepping through, keeping your eyes downfield. One of the most impressive throws that I saw was the one across his body to Deebo Samuel and putting it only in a spot that he can get it.
Yep.
But the command of the huddle, him yelling back at Kyle Shanahan, like it fully feels like a guy who has been playing football and been the 49ers quarterback for a long time. And we talked all about it before this game. We were cautiously optimistic about the 49ers winning this game, but we said, hey, look, there's a track record of Kyle Shanahan and his offense. And the first drive, Kyle Shanahan goes for it on 4th and 1 and trusts Brock Purdy to make the right play and puts in a concept that you actually found out about and you called as well too. I want to give you your props on that in the Denver game. And they just go down and score. And it set the tone. And usually what Kyle Shanahan does early on in games is gathering information. Like I always say it all the time, like a boxer with the jab, and he's setting up that haymaker. Well, he just said, no, let's just go back to what we were doing last year with Brock Purdy, and let's take it to him. And look at that. I mean, this is going to be the game that is probably the best opening game under Kyle Shanahan right now offensively. And it felt like if they wanted to really get greedy at certain points on certain, like if they wanted to get a little bit more greedy on 4th down, they probably could have kept scoring if they wanted to. And it just felt like if no one knew, and let's just say you were dropped down, or you were telling an alien about Brock Purdy, they would have said that's like a 10-year vet, not a guy playing in like his 10th or 11th game.
Coming back from UCL surgery back in March.
I wouldn't have known. I mean, this whole offseason, we were even worried if he was going to be ready for week 1. Not only was he ready, I mean, look what he did. At this point, you understand exactly why this team, why this organization, why this coaching staff is fully behind him. And who can argue with you right now with the sample size that we have? He just continues to stack great performance after great performance.
Yeah, you have Brandon Ayuk going on KNBR saying he has the it factor. You have Trent Williams saying he is a special player, someone that you want to, be your leader. These guys love Brock Purdy. Again, we spent a lot of assessing Brock Purdy about the intangible process and that makeup that he has that takes to be a good quarterback. And, again, it's cool to focus on look at Josh Allen, phenomenal thrower of the football, but, there are other things required to play the position, and Brock Purdy has those things: the leadership intangible, ability to process, the ability to understand what defenses are doing pre and post snap, getting the ball out on time, manipulating linebackers and safeties with his eyes. He can do, and I don't know, did you see any issues with zip on the football? Did you see any issues with delivery, with any of that?
No, because how could you? If there was issue on zip, why weren't more defenders putting their hands on the ball? Why was the ball on time? There is a lot of anticipation that needs to happen where you have to throw the ball before they're out of their break and understanding where the defenders are. That's the stuff you're talking about with quarterback. Again, negativity is often under the guise of realism. Like that throw to Patrick that throw on Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson was in perfect position. I love the alliteration of using that. Like it's just so many P's. Patrick Peterson in perfect position, so good. And was there not enough zip on that? If you want to be
such a good ball,
if you want to be negative, say that. I respect it. Right. If you just want to say, listen, man, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy.
I just don't like Purdy.
I don't like Purdy. I'll just be like, you know what? I respect
I'm a Trey guy. I don't like Purdy.
I respect it.
It is what it is.
Under the guise of dink and dunk, zip on the ball, it just comes off. And then when you call people on it, well, I'm not negative. I'm a realist.
Well, it's just one game, Jason.
And if it's against a different defense. I thought we were done with hypotheticals. Can we talk about the game that actually happened?
Right? It's just
right, like just that again. It goes back to what I said, Brad. Getting it right and wanting to be right are two completely different things. If you want to be right, you can continue to manipulate the conversation however you want to continue to get to a place where you said, well, see, look, this is what I did. And this is what I said. Getting it right is saying, man, I was concerned. I was wrong. Look at what he did in this game. And it doesn't have to be anything more than just analyzing what you saw in this one game. Just in this one game. That's it. All you have to do is analyze what's in this one game. You don't have to tell me what you think he's going to do in the fifth game against the Cowboys. You don't have to tell me what he's going to do in a hypothetical game against the Eagles in the playoffs. You don't have to tell me a hypothetical Super Bowl against Kansas City Chiefs. I don't want to hear about any of that. Like, can we start to go through the games, the actual games? Like, let's just talk about the game that just happened. And then we'll pivot to the next game. Why does it have to be, well, I don't think he's going to be able to do that against this team 5 weeks down the line. I don't know if he's going to do this in a Super Bowl matchup that we don't even know if the Chiefs are going to be there. Like, I don't understand the need to rush to kind of knock everything down instead of just saying, that was actually a really fun football game to watch. There was no issues, and everything kind of went swimmingly aside from like one or two things that never really affected the game.
100%, because like when we, as we're getting ready to, move past Pittsburgh, look towards the Rams, the 49ers just played good ball. All three phases. Moody out here making his field goals, Jason.
I told you.
Franchise kicker, baby.
I told you though. As much as I get my jokes off in preseason, I said when the lights go on, I'm sure he's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Whatever. Everybody can look. I don't care. Again, I don't want him to miss. I don't care. Can we talk about the punter though real quick? That's really what I want to talk about real quick.
Yeah, we had a great friend of the program, Jordan Elliott. He had mentioned something about it. Let's see if I can go back in time.
Well, what I wanted to say,
go off on what you wanted to say.
No, what I wanted to say was, I mean, the punts are cool, but I was way more impressed with the fake block punt that didn't go through, and Mitch turned into the rugby player. I thought he was about to put the spin move on whoever that defender was, and he didn't. Like, I'm waiting for him to like Aussie, like make the rugby move, and his rugby skills kind of kicked in, and I was impressed by that, man. Perhaps Mitch Wisnowski is a long lost yak bro. Perhaps he's someone that you should get the ball onto him, get it to him in space. And I didn't hate on him. I hated the process, and I still will never get on board with using a top 100 pick on a kicker. But make all your kicks, man. That's all I care about. There's no way that no matter what the results are from that pick, the process will never be correct. But whatever, he made his kicks, and that's all that matters. He has to make his kicks. So that's it. There's just no way I could think that him being one of the 4 kickers ever drafted that high in a draft is ever going to be good process. But he made all those kicks, and that's all that matters. What's done is done. I'm done worrying about what happened in the draft. He just has to make all his kicks now at this point.
Yep. And he did. And he looked a lot more confident than what we saw last against the Broncos, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Definitely looked jittery with the way the ball was coming off the foot.
The first one kind of like started going towards the upright, but it moved right back in.
Like, cut
but
back.
Everything was down the middle. So that's great. That's great. Again, Kyle Shanahan reiterated, not worried about it. I thought that once the games actually happened that he was going to be fine. And I'm glad that he was, but you're still not going to be able to convince me that was ever a good process. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, I understand. And we'll be talking about it for a long time. But as soon as Jake Moody starts winning football games for us and kicking like he did against the Pittsburgh Steelers, we really won't care. And because ultimately we want the 49ers to win football games. And as long as he is contributing to that success, that's all that ultimately matters in the end. So we definitely understand the process through like the way we look at the draft and the way we value and prioritize those types of things. Those will be two different conversations. But let's take a look at, you know, the overall performance as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
There was predominantly good, right? There was really seldom issues, I think, on both sides of the football. Now, they weren't perfect, but if you had to look at that game and you had to come across with a concern potentially, either offense or defense or special teams, do you have any?
I mean, obviously the easy thing to pick on is going to be right tackle, right? But I have a hot take, Brad.
Okay.
I was much more concerned with Spencer Burford than I was Colton McKivitz on Sunday.
Interesting.
And here's why. Spencer Burford's been here for a year. He had, what is it? How many penalties? How many pressures given up? Like 3, I believe, or 3.
Had a false start.
Had a false start. He was graded 25.8 in pass blocking. With McKivitz, it's TJ Watt. TJ Watt dominates every single right tackle. You know how I know? He puts up sack numbers and pressure numbers at a historic rate.
Well, he was defensive player of the year at one point, right?
And the only reason you didn't hear about him last year was because he was hurt. It's TJ Watt. There is no right tackle in the game that is going to be able to shut out TJ Watt. And if you believe that Colton McKivitz was going to be that guy, I don't know what to tell you. Now, the good news is, 49ers fans, there's 16 other teams the San Francisco 49ers have to face. TJ Watt doesn't play for any of those teams. But if you want to be concerned, there is Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and then those Philadelphia Eagles boys that they rotate in and out. But my point is this. It's the expectation that you set with Colton McKivitz a little bit. And it's TJ Watt. You're not making excuses. It's the context. I'm much more concerned with Spencer Burford, who's been here for a year. And that was not a great performance. So you can look at Colton McKivitz and say, I think it was the easiest thing for everybody to say. They're just like, hey, McKivitz is going to have his hands full with TJ Watt. He did. Mm-hmm. I think there was some downright bad reps, and I think there was some reps where you just say, okay, like he survived. He made it on to the next rep. And also, quarterback play, like you, and I'm going to kick this to you now, offensive line. Quarterback play and offensive line play are literally tied together. Mm-hmm. Quarterback has to realize what's coming and get rid of the ball. Quarterback has to realize right side is overloaded. You got to get rid of the ball. You got to get it out fast. So all that stuff is really, really important. So sure, the whole right side, but Spencer Burford's been here for a year. That was not a great performance. And everybody seems to just kick around Colton McKivitz and they forget about Burford.
My turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the sentiment on the issues that McKivitz had with TJ Watt. You explained it perfectly. He's an elite edge. Everyone's going to struggle with TJ Watt. Even Trent Williams would struggle, even though TJ primarily stayed on that right side. My concerns from Colton came from issues against non-TJ Watt players.
That makes sense.
Issues with down blocking. There's a consistent issue with getting home and using proper technique on down blocking. He was missing blocks in the run game. So there was multiple layers for me where I'm typically a guy who I don't provide a judgment on the O-line until I get into the tape. Then I get into the tape and I watch it, and literally 98% of the time I come out of the tape, it's much better than I thought. This was one of the rare occasions where I got in the tape and was like, wow, this wasn't better than I thought.
Wow.
So with Colton, that doesn't mean it's end game. He can still improve. The things that he struggled with are correctable. And we could see a bounce back game against the Rams. So I'm not painting a picture of doom and gloom. But what I am painting a picture of was, again, wow, that was not as good as I was hoping for from Colton. Doesn't mean he can't be good. Doesn't mean he can't improve, because a lot of it was technically based, footwork, hand placement, stuff like that. So you can fix that and correct that. So with that, there is a level of concern though for that right side. Obviously, those two guys are your most, least experienced technically offensive linemen on the squad right now, and they're playing next to each other and they have to play in tandem. You saw them bust on a stunt where they were trying to pass it off and they got right through. So there's still little things to improve upon. And my thing would be this: if we start to not see improvement, that's when I will get concerned. I will raise my hand and be like, all right, Houston, we have a problem. Right now, it wasn't ideal, but the 49ers still had success on offense. They had a little bit of trouble running to that right side as a result of the issues that I've talked about. But as long as they can improve game and game and game, again, these are your least experienced guys, so they're probably going to go through the rockiest road up front first. So give them a couple games to acclimate, get to gel. And if at that point we get 4 games in and we're seeing the same issues, then that's when we can be concerned. But I will say, wasn't ideal from the right side. Also, too, on top of, I thought everyone else, I thought Brendel did great. I thought Banks, for the most part, did really good. Same thing
Banks
with
was good.
Trent.
I thought Banks was really good, actually.
Yeah, they played well. And I mean,
I love that
run.
That block that he opened up for McCaffrey. That's incredible, man. Like, that was
exactly.
Great.
It was a great double-to-backer concept, and McCaffrey, being the elite running back that he was, is able to maneuver through that.
Mm-hmm.
So those guys did great. Center through left tackle, not one issue with. Colton, Burford, let's give them a couple games. Let's see how they acclimate, see how they improve week to week. And if we get to week 4 and we're seeing these same issues we saw week 1, that's when we're going to raise our hand and be like, this could prove to be an issue come playoff time. But right now, not gonna hit the panic button just yet. But I see it. It's there.
And Brad, Kyle Shanahan spoke about it. We could have gave him a little bit more help, maybe gave him a chip, things like that. But kind of what I was looking at was, despite TJ Watt being over there, despite TJ Watt being a wrecker, and he tried many times to literally, like, those game-changing plays like that. Like, he was literally about to do it, and that recovered fumble by Purdy was incredible too. I think that goes by the wayside as well. But the 49ers largely just ran their offense and didn't have to change anything as well too. Now, will that be typical when you're facing, again, the Eagles, the Myles Garretts, the Micah Parsons, who Micah Parsons looked incredible. That Dallas defensive line looked incredible.
He's such a phenomenal athlete.
They were so good. But as long as the 49ers, there's always going to be little hiccups, and it's never going to be something that is pushing them away from their offense. It's a concern, but it didn't affect the game in a way that it made Kyle Shanahan feel, like he couldn't go for it on 4th, or he's not going to. They were throwing the ball a lot more than they were running it in this game, and that was something that was kind of interesting, because I think we're kind of preconditioned to just say, well, he's going to hand it off a bunch. No, man, it was just drop back and passing, and Purdy was executing. So it's a concern. And again, you have to give credit. It's the NFL, Brad. Sometimes cornerbacks are very good and they see Justin Jefferson across from them or Devontae Adams across from them, and they're just like, I'm going to have a rough day today. Sometimes you're a lineman and you look over and it's TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. You're going to have a rough day today. No doubt about it. Those guys are elite. Those are blue chip guys. So that's a little bit that has me at least being optimistic, on top of the fact that there's really not much more to complain about aside from maybe penalties on that one drive at the end of the half, and a little bit of soft coverage that was allowing, catch and run a little bit more, look like a little bit more like prevent, like at the end of the half. Yeah. Other than that, I don't see too many negatives.
Right. We're nitpicking a win, right?
Right.
So, and I think you make a great point about who we were going against, and they were still passing. They were still being able to execute the offense. It wasn't perfect. They had some setbacks here or there, but regardless, that's a pretty solid defense, right? Like, Minka, all that type of stuff. Like, so it's still a good test for the 49ers, and they have room for improvement, which, again, that's what you want to see. You want to see these guys improve week in, week out. So not hitting the panic button yet. We've identified, and now we're monitoring. That's it. And the hope is I come back on here next Wednesday and we're like, they fixed it. They were able to correct those issues, and that's it. The other, again, just to get onto the concerns, and then we'll get past the Steelers and we'll look at the Rams, it is interesting to see what they're doing with the nickel because it does feel like they don't feel confident.
No third linebacker. There was only two other linebackers if I'm not mistaken. I did the snaps by count, the snaps by position count for Niners Nation. I think it was just Oren Burks who played. They didn't run at all. Any three linebackers. It was just Fred and Greenlaw. So the whole idea of like base defense again, like we've talked about that in the offseason. It's like base defense is a thing of the past. It's something that it's just with the way offenses are going to spread you out and everything. And I mean, and again, the Steelers came out, Robinson, Johnson, and Pickens. You're not going to be able to have three linebackers on there unless you want that exploited. So again, they kind of knew what they were doing. But yeah, that whole third linebacker spot thing, it always felt a bit overblown because you're just not going to be in base. Now, the question is the lack of third linebacker just based on this one game plan and this personnel group, or is it something that we're going to look forward to a little bit more because you see Fred Warner, carrying two all the way up the field, and then or literally getting the shallow crosser and then passing him off to Greenlaw and then going to Fryer move. Like you probably can get away with two linebackers and a nickel because it's Fred Warner and Greenlaw. Like that's the thing. It's not like this is something that you're just doing because you're trying to buck the trend. It's like you have the personnel to execute certain things and it doesn't put you in bad spots. So that's the thing too.
Yeah. So overall, the 49ers, again, they're really good.
Yes.
Bottom line. Yeah. Right. They're really
we forgot, good. Brad. I think we forgot a little because we were arguing about quarterback 2, Nick Bosa's contract, because of all of the stuff. We forgot this is a really good team.
Well, for the Brock Purdy interception crowd, I think they also forgot that Brock Purdy was going up against the number 1 defense in the NFL every single day at practice. Mm-hmm. That might be a minor thing that we could potentially be overlooking in Brock Purdy's return from UCL surgery. But that's neither here nor there because the myths have been busted, and it is what it is. Brock
Brad,
Purdy.
One more thing.
Go for it.
One more thing. Just the defensive line, man. I want to push some propaganda. I want to push an agenda. I want to push an agenda.
Spin the narrative.
Because this is a guy that continues to get bashed because he didn't have any sacks. And why are you paying this guy so much money? Drake Jackson deserves. If Drake Jackson got a bonus for 3 sacks in that game, he deserves half of it to Eric Armstead. Half of it.
Yeah.
Literally half of it. It's one thing to make the play. But the pocket was collapsed every single time that he was lined up in a pass rushing set, basically with him and Hargrave. The point I'm trying to make is, if you're looking for just sacks, I'm a big pressures over sacks guy. Of course, you need sacks because you need to actually finish. But 2 of Drake Jackson's sacks were based on Eric Armstead pushing people away and Kenny Pickett going towards Drake Jackson. And credit to Drake Jackson for being able to be fast enough to go down there and get it. But
it was a team effort for sure.
Yeah, but can we get some Eric Armstead love? 5 pressures, and everybody always just wants to say, well, he doesn't get sacks. People got sacks because of him. And there's the stunts that him and Hargrave are running where Armstead's running straight through. Like, I hate to say it, man, we got to start watching the games, like a little bit more. Like, we've got to start watching the games. Like, the box score watching has gotten out of hand.
Save the line.
Right. Watch the damn tape.
Thank you.
But here's the thing, too. I had been talking all off season, kind of, and again, this is just a conversation, and this conversation is fluid. It's fluid because it's only one game. I've been having the conversation all off season that the 2019 line was going to have some competition by this 2023 line, and the 2023 line I said wasn't going to be as top heavy as the 2019 line because it's hard to get better than Bosa, Buckner, Armstead, and D Ford, who everybody likes to make fun of, but was an incredible speed rusher when he was in obvious passing downs.
He was phenomenal.
But Nick Bosa literally brought this up after the game. Literally brought up that line right after the game. And my contention was never that it was just the 4 that were going to be better than the 19. It was the whole group. Cleveland Farrell looked great. Kerry Hyder got a sack. This whole line was eating. Javon Kinlaw played well. Javon Kinlaw broke through the line and literally stopped because he thought it was a screen. Like he thought
he's like, wait a minute, this isn't normal.
He's like, whoa, and he's like trying to look for the outlet pass.
Yeah.
It was that good. And the sum of the parts of this entire defensive line possibly could be better than that 19 line, because I went back, and this is the article that I posted today on Niners Nation. I implore you guys to go ahead and read it. Sheldon Day, DJ Jones, Solomon Thomas, and I'm missing someone else where was the depth. It's
Ronald Blair.
Ronald Blair. Okay. This year, it's Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant, Kerry Hyder, Javon Kinlaw, Kevin Givens. Kevin Givens had a bunch of pressures in this game as well, too. Now, how much of that has to do with the fact that the Steelers' offensive line isn't exactly like the best? But I do think that if this continues, we can have a discussion going forward if they continue, because it's a one-game sample size. You can't overreact. But it's funny that Nick Bosa brought this up, because I had been kind of speculating that this could be a thing if that continues again.
Yeah, for sure. And to kind of jump on your defensive line comments about the individuals and how they played, I love, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I love the position that Steve Wilks put them in. All the stunts, the different looks, I don't think they blitzed as much, but they definitely felt like they were attacking like crazy.
First quarter, they blitzed. I think it was about 27%. And then when he realized he can get home with 4, all of that changed. And It literally just stopped. It stopped after that.
Yep. Dude, you could see Kenny Pickett in the pocket. He looked so uncomfortable. Yep. And it was based on how they were slanting, how they were stunting, the way they were looping. I mean, I think 2 of Drake Jackson's sacks came off stunts. I believe Hargrave's sack came off a stunt. So they were getting home on stunts. And we've seen, I've admitted this a million times. I'm a big offensive guy. So I spend a lot of time breaking down the offensive tape. So I don't have the same baseline for defense, but just from my memory, I don't remember Saleh for sure, or I know D'Amico's was a little bit more aggressive, but them stunting at this level and this aggressively and looping consistently. And it's just like, for an offensive line, being a former offensive lineman, it is so confusing when these guys are constantly shifting gaps, moving. You don't know who's coming into your gap. Is it going to be Fred blitzing? They were literally, that's what makes it difficult. And I think you look at Kenny Pickett, he was just like, I don't know where to go with the football. And he looked really bad as a result. So I want to give credit to Steve Wilks, because I felt like Steve Wilks put his guys and used them in a phenomenal way to get after the quarterback and attack this quarterback. And again, the way you have all these guys stunting all over the place, phenomenal. You talked about Eric Armstead. He was creating pressures. He was getting in there, and it was the guys who were coming around on loops. Like I said, Drake Jackson on 2 of them was looping around and found himself in the right position to make a play as a result. And it's like, even Eric Armstead, I think, could potentially have taken away a pick from Mooney Ward on like a fade to the right corner of the end zone, where Mooney Ward was playing in coverage, and he was just staring Pickett right in the eyes. And Eric comes in and he makes it a really bad pass, but I think Mooney was all over it, and I think he would have picked it. So, I mean, these guys they're cooking right now. They are absolutely on fire.
A little bit of it too is we got to give props to the coverage as well. I mean, there were times where the pass rush wasn't getting there within 2.5 seconds, and Pickett didn't have literally anywhere to go with the ball. You give them another half a second with that coverage on the back end, and you're dropping everyone and you're not rushing anything more than 4. It's going to be a long day. And again, this defensive performance, and I think someone in the chat really like nailed it. I don't think anybody worried about like the Steelers coming in and like bullying the 49ers, but I do think that there was a reputation, and it still is. Don't get it twisted. This one game does not mean that the Pittsburgh Steelers are a bad team. Like, I want to make sure we make that clear. Yeah. What they are is they're a gap and a few tiers below the 49ers, but they're not a bad team. I want to make sure we get that out there. I think we were just shocked that a Mike Tomlin team wouldn't show up like this in a home opener. Week 1, and after the way that they had been playing in the preseason, literally, right? 5 drives, 5 perfect drives, they scored. We all knew the 49ers defense was going to be stout, but we didn't think that the Steelers were going to put up that kind of performance. And that was a bit shocking to me, because it's Mike Tomlin. You know how they prepare, and you know that team has talent. They just got punched in the mouth, like Tomlin said.
I had the 49ers winning, but I had it 24-21 just
I had a
because
21-17.
I didn't think it was going to be a bludgeoning, but they came out ready. Defense came ready. They had the early 3-and-out, then the interception. Offense just completely was locked in, ready to go, and all of it combined made for a absolutely phenomenal performance, which they're going to be able to translate into next week against the Rams. So looking at everything, the Rams also played better. Actually, before we get into the Rams right away, let's get into I'm sitting on super chats. So
Brad, remember we gotta go over state of the franchise best ball, because I think you'll be surprised at who's number 3 after the first week.
I heard it might be me.
It is you,
which is insane because
it is
cheeks.
It just speaks to how insane this week was and how scoring was down everywhere. And if you had the guys on your team that actually scored, you won. Because nobody, like T. Higgins had 0, and like Rodgers, obviously, shout out to him, and I hate that happened, 0. Like there was so many premier players that just got nothing.
Absolutely. Gammon says, congrats to the Rams for beating a team without their starting tackles. We are 8-1 against the Rams. Burford will be eaten alive by Donald. Can the Rams score 30 on our defense? Can we score 30 on them?
Look, shout out to the Rams. And I think that there's a lot of like, I don't want to curse on here. There's a lot of smack talk about the Rams, obviously, because of the rivalry.
Of course.
But I think, again, I had someone tell me like, oh, the Rams have a worse roster than the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm like, in what world, in what universe, in what multiverse? Like, it's still Sean McVay knows how to call plays. It's still Matthew Stafford at times. Puka balled out. They're Aaron Donald, like
boy, Tutu Atwell, let's go.
They still have players, at the same time. I think that game says less about the Rams than it does the Seahawks. Because the Rams went out there and they were prepared. But if you would have told me on Friday that the Seahawks were going to have 1 yard against Aaron Donald and a bunch of like whoever the hell, like Aaron Donald and Josh Johnson and and whoever the hell's on that defense for the whole second half, I'll be like, man, are you smoking? Absolutely not. So I think the Rams deserve credit for week 1 because they came out and they executed their game plan in a hostile territory. But I think that says more about the fact that Seattle may not be as good as people think they are. And maybe a lot of what you saw last year was just something that was a 1-year thing. Now, again, it's important not to overreact one way or another to a week 1 game.
Of course.
The Cleveland Browns blanked the Cincinnati Bengals, right? So that's it. The Bengals are done. All that shit, right? Like that's how we should be viewing it if you're overreacting.
Yeah.
But to say that you're going to have the opener with all those expectations at home against a Rams team that, for all intents and purposes, a lot of people believe were better than the Rams, and maybe they still are. We don't know yet, right? It's only week 1. My God, man, that is an embarrassing loss, and that really looks bad, man. That really, really looks bad on the Seahawks. So maybe that is an indication that the Seattle Seahawks are the team that was going to regress instead of the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, and I mean, for the Seahawks, that's a huge L in division to start off when every game in division matters this year, especially if they're trying to catch the San Francisco 49ers. And if they get swept by the Rams, that could change things in a heartbeat for them. So, while we were on here, I saw Abe Lucas, their right tackle, went to IR. So they have a bunch of issues. You're muted.
41-year-old Jason Peters is now starting.
Yeah. So definitely some issues there with the way that all played out. But, with the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Rams, we know how it is. These division opponents, these division rivals, these games always are just different. The 49ers, remember when we got beat by Colt McCoy and the Arizona Cardinals? Like, these games just are different. There's a different mentality. There's a different vibe. Obviously, the San Francisco 49ers have won the last 8 regular season games in a row over them, and they hold their NFC championship game over our head, but it is what it is. So heading to Levi's South, and by the way, Matt Barrows is reporting that the San Francisco 49ers will wear their home red jerseys, which makes sense because it's a home game. So, it's anything can happen, right? It's any given Sunday, and it's still early in the year. So, but if we had to use our brains, I think we would say that the 49ers are the better team, and they should win this game. But we know it's football, and anything can happen. Muted.
Can we call up the Titans and see if they could lend us Brunskill again for one game?
Bro, I've been going through because it's Rams week, so we throw up throwback posts and stuff like that, and I'm like looking at all my Brunskill stuff. I'm like, man,
it's funny. On Bully Ball with Steph, she was like, Daniel Brunskill's not walking through that door, pal. No, look again. Okay, look. We're gonna get to the smack talk. You know me. I'm gonna turn up and shout out to Jim Everett, man. He's a friend of the channel, even if he is a Rams fan and everything as well too. But I love the banter. Yeah, look, you look at this roster holistically. The 49ers have a better roster than the Rams. They do. For all intents and purposes, you should be able to go in there and beat them, right? Based on who you are, what you've been able to do, and how you've been scoring points. But at the same time, it is the NFL. There's games like that. I'm not trying to set you up to tell you that I think the Rams are going to win, because I still have the 49ers winning, and I think they win by 15 points. Yeah. But weird things happen, especially in week one. But again, using just your general gut feeling and what you just saw with the 49ers and how they dismantled the Steelers, regardless if the Rams beat the Seahawks, you still have to like the 49ers' chances to walk away with a victory in division in Levi South. So, I mean, it's just – and I'm sorry we keep seeing Levi South. I'm going to start saying SoFi. It's fine.
No,
but yeah,
Levi South.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's like
what it's called.
We're looking around and we're just like, hey, this team is better than the Rams. But at the same time, crazy things have happened. I heard you while I was going there to take care of Averly real quick. She ran to the bathroom. I heard you talk about the Colt McCoy game where we're sitting there laughing and we're like, ha ha ha, Colt McCoy in Arizona, and they go in there and they just put out a better game plan, right? And that's one thing that I think we kind of discount is Sean McVay. No matter the personnel, no matter who's available, is going to find the best way to try to put guys in position to succeed. But you still have the 49ers defense, and you still bank on the talent that they have on that side.
Yeah, absolutely. Keith Murphy says, same old sorry ass Seahawks, go Niners. Seems like it, I guess.
I mean, DK Metcalf is knocking down a Keller Weatherspoon because he's frustrated. The defense was nowhere to be found. They had no sort of stop at all. Puka Nacua, shout out to him, man, and shout out to my dynasty stonks. I'm so glad I was grabbing him up on all the last rounds and everything.
Puka,
yeah.
I literally own Atwell in probably 90% of my leagues right now. So that worked out for me too.
Yeah. So look, it's more about them. It's more about the Seahawks, I think, in that game. It's more disappointing that the Seahawks didn't show up at home, but.
It's more about them not showing up, opposed to just
100%. Josh says, Rams just took down a Geno Smith-led team. That's no small feat.
Damn.
You guys are. I love it. You guys are spicy. Let's go, man.
Yeah, I'll take it all day.
Yeah.
Brandon says, okay, Jason. Okay, Brad. What would you guys do with the Niners' current salary cap? Think they're going to make a move, or are they saving to sign others and rolling it over into next year's cap? Go ahead. I'll let you take this first.
I think I'm going to give the boring answer, but I think it's fluid. Injuries happen. Guys are ineffective. Sometimes there's players that come available when teams realize that they're not contending and they can't sign. I think, Brandon, there's no easy answer to this because I don't think that they have a set plan. I think if everything goes well in a perfect world, which is, I'm kind of weirded out this week, man. I mean, aside from the Dre Greenlaw thing, it sounds like Wear and Terry is going to be fine. Like, having that game go that way, having no injuries, I'm like, when's the dagger coming? When is the rug going to be pulled out from under me? Things are never this smooth. But if in a perfect world, nobody gets injured, everything goes well, and they're able to execute the way that they do, then they can roll it over. But I do think that they have enough where they're sitting around waiting to see what happens. And it's better to be prepared. It's better to have it and not need it. And I think that's kind of where they're thinking. And if they roll it over, they get a little bit more because of the cap increase. And then that obviously rolls over so you can get Brandon Ayuk. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, you don't need all 40. You don't need all 40, but it's like a rainy day jar. It's like something that you got, like, it's just like something that you got sitting there. And it's like you've saved up all your shekels and You know, if God forbid something happens and you need 1 or 2 players who are impact players who have come available from teams that thought they were going to contend, realize they can't sign some guys on expiring contracts, then the 49ers can make some all-in moves. So I think it's fluid. I really think it's fluid.
Absolutely. And there's two sides of me. There's the Brian Burns agenda aside, and then there's let's put myself in the 49er shoes and what would they actually do? So that I have two brains. You know, one side is going to push the Brian Burns agenda, go out, make a splash, use that cap to inject your roster with as much talent as possible in a win now year, go get a Super Bowl right now. But also, we understand what it is. The 49ers aren't going to just go out and make a brash move like that, most likely. They could potentially look at a cornerback. They could potentially look at O-line. I would say the most realistic option, if they were to bring someone in, would be a cornerback, maybe a nickel or whatever, because I feel like they feel pretty good with Lenore and Mooney, and they have legitimate questions with who they want to play, whether it's Ambry or whether it's Oliver. And we didn't see any Womack, so we don't know if he's going to get a shot. But if they were really trying to go and get someone, I would say right now, probably the thing that makes the most sense is to maybe target a cornerback somewhere. I don't know. Offensive line, it's just such a hard thing to trade for because if you have good offensive line, you're not trading away.
Right. Thank you, Brad. I love that. Or just sign somebody. Well, Lel Collins is out there, right? But he's coming off an injury. And, you know,
dude's back is in good a shape as mine, which breaking news is not in good shape.
So that's the thing. It's like people are like, well, let's just trade for a lineman. But why would a team trade away good linemen?
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Unless it's right. Unless it's like, again, like what I was saying, a team that is completely out of contention.
There's a contract coming up.
And there's a contract coming up
that they get moved.
But other than that, it's like remember we talked about the drop off from backups from starters. It's so much that you wouldn't trade guys that. All right, let's even go a step further. Let's just say, you know, whatever. Laramie Tunsil gets upset in Houston, right? And he's just like, I want out. And I know he probably doesn't play the position we're talking about, but I'm just giving you an example. I want out. But Houston's invested in CJ Stroud. So you're going to send away the guy who's protecting him. And it's like, you can get that guy hurt. That's your future. It's like, there's so many other factors that need to go into like trading a lineman. It just doesn't really happen. It just doesn't happen.
It's very rare. And it's because they are rare. And when you got good ones, you don't let them go if you can keep them. So that's why I don't see that being an issue. And again, we still have time for those guys to acclimate, get ready. So I'm not hitting the panic button yet, neither should the 49ers. But realistically, I'll just say that I think the 49ers do what you do, like kind of what you said. It's in their back pocket, but realistically, they're going to roll it over into next year, pay Brandon Ayuk, pay Talanoa Hufanga, keep restructuring, keep this method of madness going on.
The thing is, too, is the 49ers won a ton of games with Tom Compton at right tackle. And it even sparked the conversation that Tom Compton was better than Mike McGlinchey. And I think what we're losing focus of with McKivitz is this. If the 49ers are still able to run the ball, still not be and don't get behind 20-0 and are in obvious drop back situations, you still have ways to protect. Like, game flow is so important. If you're chasing points and you're down 20-0, which I don't know how the 49ers would be unless some terrible things go wrong, right? I don't know how you would be in that position. The 49ers are still going to be able to control the clock, score points, move their offense, regardless of what's going on at right tackle. The only way right tackle becomes a position, and this is what happened to Compton during that Rams game in the championship, was when you have got to have it, and you've got to throw the ball, and you've got to have it, and those guys on the edge can pin their ears back, and they know they don't have to worry about the run. That's when you're going to get yourself into trouble. So provided, as long as the 49ers are moving their offense, keeping the game close, still have the threat of the run, still have the threat of play action, all of those things, that's when you're going to find yourself in problems if you're just dropping back like a fool, 5 and 7 step drops and trying to beat a team that way.
Yeah, so I think you said it perfectly. The 49ers offense can absolutely, hide those issues and kind of put those guys in better positions as much as possible. I even saw something while we were on where they were talking to Colton McKivitz, and he said he has to clean up some easy fixes. And again, that's what it looks like. It's just technical things. Everything that he kind of messed up on is correctable. So it's not a fatal flaw just yet. He can improve. He can get better. It wasn't where I wanted it to be. It's probably not where he wanted it to be or his coaching staff wanted it to be. All things can be true, and he can still improve and be better next week.
Good thing there's more games because,
Right.
if we're going off week 1, T. Higgins is a terrible receiver. Joe Burrow's not worth the money. Travis Kelce is literally the only thing that's it's like all of these things that have happened in week 1, they can be right for week 1, but it doesn't mean that means T. Higgins was 0 for 8 with his targets. I don't think he's going to be good, man. He's not deserving the money. Joe Burrow got paid and he looked bad against the Browns. I don't know, man. I don't think he's that good. It was a lot of weird stuff going on in week 1, and there's always room for improvement. And typically, one more thing, if I just want to be a bucket of optimism, which I am.
I like it.
The 49ers typically peak at the end of the season, not early in the year. So if these trends continue, then this team will figure it out as they get closer and closer to, the playoffs. Again, health aside, all the other stuff. I think they'll figure it out. They should be fine.
Justin says, "Can we trade for Darnell Washington and just put him next to McKivitz?"
That was a hell of a block.
He had a couple of them.
Yeah, he's a big boy. He's a big man.
Cooking.
He fell in the draft. He fell so far in the draft. I could not even the Steelers were like, man, we don't need tight end, but hard to pass up on this.
I mean, he was looking like an extra tackle out there. I mean, he was.
Good God.
Woo,
and he hasn't even shown off the speed and the jumping and everything yet. Good God.
Yeah, no, but to the point, that's one way that you can help McKivitz in pass blocking situations, and they did. They started using Kittle. They started throwing chips at him, and it helped big time. And so, again, I think this is the biggest sentiment that I've heard so far. Is it's not can the offense function? They can function with Burford and McKivitz. It's can they keep Purdy healthy? That's the number one thing.
We gotta stop putting negative stuff. Like we gotta. I believe a lot in manifesting. Right? Look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself what you're gonna do for this day, and tell yourself what you want to see. When you start to say things like that over and over and over, I mean.
Focus on health. Constantly.
Burford and McKivitz weren't here last year. And we lost every quarterback, and the only year that we had a starting quarterback for the entire year was 2019. So let's not go there. Of course, that can happen, but please let's start manifesting better things. Like Burford and McKivitz are going to figure it out, or or Burford and McKivitz are going to get help from Kyle Shanahan. Like manifest it. Look yourself in the mirror and say, today, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick today's ass, and I'm worth it, all that stuff. Let's manifest the good stuff. Good vibes only. No, you're right. AW's right. We do have PTSD with the quarterback position, but Burford and McKivitz weren't here in 2018, 2017, 2020, like when all that stuff happened either. So I don't know. Yeah.
It's good vibes on this state of the franchise after a phenomenal win, 30-7 over the Steelers. And they played really good ball. Again, it wasn't perfect. There's room for improvement. There always will be shocking, right? But as we continue to move forward through the super chats, I think this is our last one. Mm-hmm. So Gammon says the last 2 times a Kyle Shanahan team won the first game of the season, he went to the Super Bowl and NFC Championship game. Is this team better than 2019? I'll let you take this first.
Man, I mean, again, in 2019, they beat the Tampa Bay Bucks, but the offense didn't largely click. And it was 2 pick sixes from Jameis Winston in that game. And I was there. I remember I walked out with a super sunburn. It was super hot in that stadium. If we're going off one game, and if we're going off one game being a predictor of success, the way the 49ers dismantled the Steelers, yeah, they might be on their way to being a better 2019 team. And here's probably why they are. Love Emmanuel Sanders, Brandon Ayuk's better. Deebo Samuel's a better version of himself. Nick Bosa's a better version of himself. Javon Hargrave. Here's the argument. Is Javon Hargrave better than DeForest Buckner? Brad Graham.
Ooh. That's one I have to ponder and think about because they're on the same tier, I would say.
I believe so too.
Better, it's, Buckner's taller, so he can jump into the passing lanes a little bit better.
Right.
But Hargrave is a little bit quicker footed, in my opinion. So it's like they're both same tier. They're quality.
So in my article, I went back and I looked at the 2019 numbers. DeForest Buckner finished with 20 pressures in 16 games. And Javon Hargrave on Sunday had 5. That's a quarter.
He was getting.
That's a quarter. That's a quarter.
Close.
That's a quarter in one game. He's got 16 more.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I brought that up. Right? So, like 20 over 16, 5 and 1. If I'm not good at math, he's not going to get 5 every game. But I think he has a really good chance of getting 15 and 16 to get that number.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a good question. And I think you can debate it for sure. But I do think they're on the same tier. So is this team better than the 2019 team? I would say offensively 100%.
Yes,
like,
I think so.
I don't even think it's a debate.
McCaffrey, I forgot, Christian
Not
McCaffrey.
even a debate. Like, right. Brock looks leaps and bounds over Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019. I think a lot of people forget that 2019 year, Jimmy Garoppolo is coming off ACL surgery and also is his first full year as a starter. And he really struggled early on, like, to get up to speed. I mean, you go through that Bengals game week 2. A lot of it was done on the run game with Breida. And then you go to the week 3 game against the Steelers against Mason Rudolph, and they barely win that game. But to credit to Garoppolo, he put the team on his back on that very last drive, drove him down the field with a touchdown to Pettis. But other than that, the offense was non-existent. Mm-hmm. And, outside of the New Orleans game, comeback versus the Rams, and some of those other games later on in the season, the offense was managing games. Brock, with this offense, is attacking defenses. Mm-hmm. They're just different quarterbacks. They operate this scheme in 2 completely different ways, and he clearly operates it at a much higher efficiency and effectiveness than Jimmy Garoppolo ever has, which is crazy to say because he's in what, Jason, his 8th game?
Right. His 10th game? Yeah.
Right. So, like, he's only going to improve. He's only going to master it and get better at that. So that's the thing. The offense is probably 3 tiers better than the 2019 offense. And when you look at the defense, one of the reasons why they had so much success was that D-line, like you talked about. And they had a young, budding Fred Warner who was just coming into his own, got his first career pick 6 in that season against the Rams. Then you have Dre Greenlaw, who's a rookie, who's just getting his feet wet. And you've got Richard Sherman, who's, long in the tooth a little bit, but, no one threw his way. So everyone who was getting challenges, rookie Emmanuel Mosley, undrafted free agent. It was, what's his name? That were about to play with the Rams, Ahkello Witherspoon. Mm-hmm. It was Kwaski. It was Jimmy Ward at safety. It was Tarvarius Moore. I would say hands down, this roster as it's assembled right now is night and day better than a team that went 13-3 in 2019.
And a little bit more to Purdy. Shout out to KP, head honcho at Niners Nation. I think that he's probably one of the most slept on people on 49ers Twitter when he talks about.
He's so good at what he
does.
But
he succinctly brought up the difference between Brock Purdy and what we've been seeing in this offense from whoever was operating it. Brock Purdy routinely passes up on singles and goes for doubles in baseball terms. He's looking for that extra base always. And he has the IQ to understand where the space is going to be. It helps that you got guys, getting themselves wide open and Shanahan being able to understand defenses. I think it was Rich Madrid that said something that had me laughing. He's like, he must be hearing what the Steelers are calling because there's no way guys should be running this wide open in these games. But Brock Purdy routinely is understanding when it's time to take a shot a little bit further down the field. And again, further down the field, I'm not talking about 40 or 50 yards. It doesn't have to be that, as you saw Josh Allen just heaving that thing into Jets defenders. But it's about you have the throw in front of you to George Kittle that can get you 7 or 8. Or you can step up in the pocket and throw that thing a little bit further to Brandon Ayuk for 20-25. And that's routinely what you see with Brock Purdy. And I thought that was really a perfect way to sum up what Brock Purdy does for this offense.
He's a dog. He's not afraid. He literally isn't afraid to take a shot, and that's why this whole again, the notion that he doesn't push the ball downfield is just not true, or he can't push the ball downfield isn't true, because he will take those shots when he gets the opportunity. He was going to take a deep shot to Deebo Samuel in this game.
It would have been a touchdown if it wasn't.
But we had a bust up front. It would have been a walk-in touchdown, because the way Purdy was dealing all game, the way the coverage was, the way Deebo had stacked the defender and how much room was in front of him, it would have been a walk-in touchdown, 45, 50 yards.
Yep.
But they had a bust up front, and so the defensive lineman got his hands on it. Like the Purdy evaluations, let's just keep it a buck. They've been atrocious all training camp, all off season, throughout last year. Like, posting that clip of Brock Purdy baiting Minka into the thing, and I've seen some of the comments though, like, wow, look at Brock. This is how you know he's improved from year 1 to year 2. And I'm like, he did this 6 or 7 times just against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Like, this is who Brock Purdy is. He's been showing us this for a long time. And again, it's just like, it's easy. Like, we are different. We actually pour over all 22, and like, we spend a lot of time doing it. And like, you're pulling numbers, like you're writing articles. So like, we invest our time into this, so we have a little bit different perspective than a lot of people. But again, what Brock did against these Steelers was nothing new. It was the fact that he's recovering from a UCL surgery, and it's the first game of the year, and he's been on a pitch count all summer and all this types of stuff. Like, to then see him back in the saddle, cooking, no fear, just ice in his veins. Like, you can feel it through the screen. This guy's out here like, I'm just cooking. It's, again, like Ayuk said, he has the undefinable trait of, what is it? It's ultimate confidence. It's ultimate belief in oneself that they can also execute everything that's in front of them. And that's what makes Brock Purdy different.
That's why I stayed away from the whole Brock Purdy training camp discourse, because my contention was, I'm not there and I can't see. And I'm not going off of what other people think they see, because for the most part, a lot of people don't even understand what they see. But this offseason was a masterclass on why preseason doesn't matter, why training camp doesn't matter. So let's take a look at this game right here. Kenny Pickett, 5 drives, perfect passer rating, everything. Oh, this offense is humming. Oh, man.
Mike Tomlin's team start out hot all the time.
Oh, man, I don't know. Brock Purdy was throwing interceptions in the joint practices, in training camp. I don't know, man. Look who did what to what. And then Kenny Pickett said, yeah, I think the 49ers defense was a little bit better than the defenses we were facing in preseason. A little bit better?
Oh, wait. Was that the same defense that Brock was playing all? Oh.
And that's the thing. It's like, if you weren't there, then I would refrain from giving strong opinions. If you were there, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you at least have an informed opinion because you were there. Yeah. But it was just so many people that weren't there that were ready to write off, or use, well, I heard this guy said this many interceptions. This guy said this, and this. It's like, I have a hard time disagreeing with you if I wasn't there. But if you were there, you at least have some sort of informed opinion.
Yeah. So, anyways, Mythbusters, full effect.
Here we go.
Loving all of it. NorCal Dan says, 2 of my favorite Niners content creators, and I've seen them all. Few other good ones.
That's my guy, man. Appreciate you, man. This is how we know football season's back, man. The views are up, the energy's high. Everybody's in here just, enjoying wins and stuff, man. Again, negativity is often under the guise of realism. But shout out to NorCal Dan, man. He's always showing love, man. I'm just a realist.
And I realize when I'm a realist, my numbers go up quite a bit.
It's not just. I wasn't just talking about content creators. I was just talking about people that chime in on 49ers stuff.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. The discourse after these preseason games was incredible, and not in a good way. But it is really good to have the energy up. And
remember, hold on,
people. Yeah.
Remember when people were worried about the run defense?
Remember when everyone was worried about Steve Wilks not being a good coach? And
I just again, you
What is that?
Let's let the games happen. Let's let the games happen. And then we can start making them. But they gave up a bunch of rushing yards to a Raiders game plan that the Raiders game plan all week like that was a Super Bowl in that
They
game.
didn't play any starters.
Right. It's just like, oh my God, I don't know about this run defense, man. They gotta tighten
Oh man,
this
these
up.
backups are getting cooked. What are we gonna do?
Oh no, the backups are not that good, and they need to be starters in front of them. Who would have thought?
Oh no, the guys that are never gonna play aren't playing that well.
Right. Or the guy that's gonna be off the roster soon. Oh my God.
Oh no, my goodness. The sky is falling, right? Nuance is lost in today's discourse, but it is what it is. That's what we're here to try to do. Try to give our takes level-headed as possible.
Mhm.
Not always going to be clearly, at least my takes were not popular this year. And again, because I wasn't trying to be, I was just trying to be objective and got a lot of heat for it. But I do feel vindicated in the end. Justin says, Jason, you should be writing articles on DFS matchups. Appreciate you, my guy.
So a little insight into that is Justin and I DM all the time. Like he'll send me his lineup and I'll say, listen, you can pivot this way. You can look at, because DFS for everybody that doesn't know is like you have to spend a certain amount of money. You have a budget, you're capped. So it's not like you can just say I'm starting Kelsey, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler. Like you can't take all those guys. So it's really strategic about the matchups you want to exploit. So he'll hit me and he'll be like, this is the, we were talking earlier about the Eagles Minnesota game on Thursday. And I said, listen, man, I don't feel good. It's a primetime game for Kirk in Philly. They're going to be raising that, they're going to be talking about the NFC Championship game, home opener. I'm nervous about Kirk, nervous about it, man. And, we talked about the fact that Darisaw might not play, that Bradbury's out. So it's like, okay, now you got to take Madison off the board because now he's not going to be able to run the ball. And now Kirk's going to have to throw it more. But then Justin makes the point, Bradbury's not playing. And Mac Jones put up 300 yards against them in week 1. Which, Justin, now that I have a chance to elaborate a little bit more, I'm willing to write off that first game with the Eagles as just a little bit more of an outlier than what you're going to see going forward. But if you are looking to put Justin Jefferson and Addison in your lineup, Kirk is going to throw that thing about 40 times because they're not going to be able to – Jalen Carter and those guys are going to be able to stuff the run like crazy on Thursday. So I don't know about Madison this week.
So, you should be writing daily fantasy
It's too much,
updates.
Man. Too much.
It's too much to write about it and set your 400 million lineups at the same time.
Shut up, man. I just try to keep
Are you
myself
still in that
occupied.
many? Have you trimmed them
No,
down?
I knocked it down. I trimmed it down to 37, so.
That's crazy. 30 and are they
most of them dynasty? Most of them are dynasty. I'm in 3 redraft leagues.
That's still nuts.
So dynasty again, all the guys, there is no waiver wire. You can't pick guys up. You just get your rookie draft and you start over.
Yeah. Cheyenne says, I told my daughter the other day, we've been building this team for years. It's here. It's now.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
100%. I mean, again, with the way that they're manipulating the cap, it doesn't seem like they want this to be a 1 or 2 year thing. And it doesn't want to, this idea of a Super Bowl window. They're keeping this thing open as long as they can. I'm sure there's going to be players that move on, and they've had some roster turnover, but I don't think the roster turnover is going to be as drastic as we believed when the 49ers were up against the cap. Now, does it bring up a conversation about the cap, talking about kicking the can down the road? Is that a little bit more of an issue, and can it hamper you down the road? I would say that's a conversation for another day. And if you end up with a Super Bowl in one of these 2 years, I think you're granted a little bit more leniency with perhaps going for it and getting it done. As long as you get it done.
I think this is the year for the 49ers. It really does feel like that. It feels like all the toxicity, all the drama, Kittle, every time he's asked about a quarterback question, he just laughs and smiles. Oh, 6 years of quarterback controversy, I'm hardened to it. I'm calloused. It doesn't even phase. There used to be a time where I look at Kittle answer the questions. I'm like, damn, he looks like he's, damn, I got to answer this question again or whatever. And it's now he's just nah, no, it is what it is. But now there are no questions to ask. All everyone's asking about is Brock. What do you think of Brock? How's Brock playing? And that's what they did. I think Trey Lance became, and I not even meant to go here at all, but I do think Trey became a distraction, and they had to move on. And because of that, they can focus on the task at hand, which is this year and winning a Super Bowl. So to me, after looking at this matchup against the Steelers, how they're getting ready to go and get ready for the Rams, this feels like a team that's ready to go. This feels like a team that's got their eye on the prize. Now, I don't really care at all about how national people view the 49ers, but they have them all number one at the top of the power rankings. And that's because of how Brock Purdy played in this game, because they've known this whole time how good the roster is. The question mark was Brock. How is Brock going to play? How is he going to manage this team? And everyone saw it. And so that's why they're at the top. And as long as they can stay healthy, that's what it is. It's this team versus the training room. That's it. And self-inflicted wounds. It's going to be like that the whole year. And that's a good spot to be in my opinion. To be like where we control our destiny. We control how far we go based on how well we play and execute and how healthy we stay. That, to me, is a great spot to be in.
And to be fair, a lot of teams need that, right? But it's just something about this team being so loaded to not have impact players or players at value positions miss time. But, yeah, if the 49ers can find a way to be largely healthy, there's no way to get through a season unscathed. Right. And no team has ever done it.
It's going to happen.
I mean, if they – there you go. I mean, if they do it, then the good thing is you're a fan of a team that you can say that if they play their game, there may be nobody that can beat them. Nobody. And that's just all dependent on the guys that they have. They don't need to add anything. They can just execute with the guys that they have, the coaching staff, and that's something that a lot of teams don't feel even after 1 week. They don't feel that. And some teams, they put their best game out there, and it's still not enough. But when it comes to the 49ers, if they put their best game out there, I don't think that there's many teams that can beat them. And that's not just us being fans or anything like that. Like, it's just matter of fact with roster coaching and the way this offense is operated with, how many 30-point games they put up with Brock Purdy under. Like, it's just objectively, the offense has been moving in a direction that has not been seen since Steve Young was under center.
I've been vibing this week. I'm not going to lie. Who are the teams that the 49ers need to be?
Well, if we're overreacting, if I don't know about worried about, but if we're worried about,
why I did air quotations, like if we're to be alert of, maybe that's
if we're worried about right now, week one and week one overreactions. I mean, Philly didn't look great in New England, but I don't suspect that'll continue. Honestly, New England, if they don't start that game with that pick six, Philly's in a heap of trouble in that game. And if they make that catch at the end of the game, who knows what happens? Mac Jones played actually a very good game on Sunday. It would just be Philly and Dallas. I mean, honestly, Minnesota, I don't know. The Saints, they don't scare you. The Seahawks don't really jump off the page at you. The Packers actually did show me something. And Brad, I do think we need to have a conversation about Justin Fields.
Okay. I'm here for it. I didn't watch, I was locked into the game and working, but I've heard about it and I've already been concerned about it. Based on not watching anything and what I've heard and what I've already kind of believed, he can't read a defense, can he?
No, and I don't know what Getsy's calling the route combinations. Like, I think you should watch JT's breakdown. I want to because I know he was cooking them, and but I already had this notion of watching him last year. I'm like, ooh, he can't. He doesn't. Like, we talk about processing with Brock, like Justin, I don't think has that processing. It's a combination of many things, and as is all quarterback play. It's a combination of many things. The route combinations were awful. Like, they ran 2 corner routes with Claypool and Moore in the red zone on a 2. Like, literally, they got out of their breaks and they were standing in the same area, which put defenders there. And then Justin just has to throw that thing, and Cole Kmet is horrible blocking. And then there's times where Justin just unfortunately is passing up throws that have to come out before the defender gets around the safety, right? That has to come out to that side. So it's just I can definitely say that I hate the places that Getsy's pulling him. I hate it. I hate the play calls. There was one play call where I have no idea what they were doing. Like, Kmet goes to run block. The rest are pass blocking. The guys aren't even running routes. It's disheartening because the Bears have talent, right? DJ Moore, Kmet played well last year. Claypool was supposed to be good. I don't know what's happened to him. Darnell Mooney probably looked the best out of all of them. Roshan Johnson looked really good in the game. So it's a combination of things.
Herbert, did he do anything?
Herbert looked okay, but Roshan Johnson was bouncing off of guys, and I think everybody forgets he was Bijan's backup. But for me, it's after an offseason of talking about this is a year for the jump. It's just like some of the concerning things that we saw, and there's no two bigger Justin Fields fans than us.
I know. I was seeing the tweets, and I was like, oh god.
But then I went back and I watched it, and I was just like, damn, some of the things that he wasn't doing properly, reading the field, it was popping back up again. And how much of it has to do with you running 2 corner routes in the red zone on a 2-pointer, and leaving Justin Fields out to dry? Sure, it's a combination of things. But sometimes the throws were there, and he just was either passing them up or not making good decisions. Look, it is week 1. I think everybody's kind of been looking to rush to judgment on Justin because of everybody hyping him up a little bit. Week 1 just wasn't exactly like what I thought it was going to be looking like, especially against that Packers defense.
It wasn't like, for the 49ers, they were on the flip side with all the questions, all the concerns, a lot of hype, but a lot of concerns. 49ers answered a lot of those questions, and they put a lot of those questions to bed. It sounds like Justin Fields and the Bears just made more questions for themselves, more doubt now, because there was hype that they were going to take that step, and they didn't. And that's, when I've heard, I really think, again, it's the hardest part about being able to evaluate quarterbacks pre-draft if you literally don't have access to them, because you don't know how they process offenses. You don't know how their brain works. Like, we could see the talent that Justin Field has. That's what was apparent. What we didn't know was, how does he operate a pro style offense? How does he work and see reads and progressions and manipulate? Like, that's where Brock Purdy right now is probably like leaps and bounds better than Justin Fields in that category.
The hardest part is that this is the 3rd year, and all the concerns that we pushed back on out of the draft, he holds the ball too long. Well, we talked about it that, Ryan Day, who I believe was their pass game coordinator, they would call a lot of option routes, and you've got to wait for the guy to make a move before you can get rid of that, right? The thing is it's week 3, and now year 3, and it's kind of everybody who said that he kind of holds the ball a little too long. I think you could agree that if you watch the tape objectively, again, nobody liked Justin Fields more than me and Brad. I think objectively,
you guys are idiots, man.
Yeah, pretty much, man. The thing is like it's if anybody has that narrative and they have that not narrative evaluation, it was definitely reinforced with a lot of throws, and that's the part that I think is a little was a little upsetting.
And again, it's another opportunity for us to look in the mirror and be like, man, what do we value the most with quarterbacks? Do we value the freakish athletic traits, or do we value the intangible elements of being actually able to play the position at a very complex level? And that's the difference, right? It's the same conversations that we've had internally with our quarterback room this offseason. And again, it's just another reminder. You're never going to be 100% on evaluation, right? And so when you're not taking an L, you're learning a lesson, and that's part of the lesson. Is like, we've always known that the intangibles matter with the quarterback. But like, when that class came out and you see these, and we're seeing it now, these guys with freakish athletic traits that can play quarterback from the pocket, it's like, we're like so used to the Bradys and the Rivers and the Roethlisbergers, and like we're now like in this new era of athlete, we're having to like kind of retrain how we evaluate the quarterback. And with that class, the reason they went so high was because there was success with the Mahomes and the Josh Allens, and everyone's like, oh, that's what we got to have. And then realizing, well, the guys like this, like Brock Purdy, they're going to fall because they don't have the elite measurables, but they don't get evaluated properly for having elite intangibles.
And conversely, you're going to see that flip now, because everybody's going to start looking for their Brock Purdy now. One other thing about like evaluations. If the only evaluation opinions you give are Trevor Lawrence is going to be nice or Sauce Gardner is going to be really good, yeah, you're going to be 100%. if you never take L's, you're not shooting enough. Like if you just
old take, Jason.
Right, like if you're like Nick Bosa is going to be really good. See, I told you. Yeah, you're never going to take any L's. Like it's when you start to evaluate everybody. Of course, everybody gets things wrong. But conversely, like you were saying, everybody was looking for like the next, Mahomes, Allen, all those guys, Watson, even for a little while, and now the 49ers and Brock Purdy have kind of put people in a position where they're just like, damn, maybe we should look at this guy like a little bit more just because of that. And I think that's what you'll see. It's always a fluid situation. It's a copycat league in almost every single way. And when you see success be sustained, again, more alliteration, with a quarterback like that, then other people are going to try to rush to find their Brock Purdy, which I think is poor process instead of just evaluating the quarterbacks in front of you, right? Like if you're chasing something else that someone else did, is when you're going to find yourself forcing something as opposed to evaluating properly, however that is and however you go about it.
Yeah, and it's like, you think about what happened in 2017. It was Mitchell Trubisky over Deshaun Watson and Mahomes.
Ooh.
So, it's fluid, right? They're always trying to evaluate and like change. I've changed evaluations. I've changed the way I've evaluated safeties over the years. I've been adamant about like that change because I knocked Derwin James for his versatility, and I was like, oh, no other team's going to be able to recreate his versatility. Dead wrong on that. And that helped me like be open to guys like Fred Warner. And when he was coming out and no one knew what he was, but I was like, well, hell, he lands in the right spot. Team uses him the right way. He's a good player and he could be a guy. So it's just like, you just got to be able to learn and you gotta evolve. Right.
I love Rodrigo's, comment.
No, he's never changed.
No, you know what, man? It's funny.
He's evaluating kickers. He doesn't evaluate kickers.
I'm in on the joke, man. I'm cool with it. Look, if he continues to make kicks and everybody is like cooking me, that's a good thing. It's a great thing. I don't want him to miss kicks. I don't like, but it's so good. That is so good, man. It's just I'm ready for it. Like on Twitter, whenever anything happens, like with a special teamer, it's just like I'm just ready for it. Like I get it. The best part is. Go ahead. You were so close. You were so close to doing it.
I was so locked into like
that you forgot
what I do that I didn't even have time to like bust out my franchise kicker full caps.
Dude, so the best thing that Jordan does, and this is why I love Jordan. Everyone's like, what did he say? Mitch Wisnowski's absolutely owning
that
yeah, he's no, but he said it on Twitter. Or X or whatever the hell it's called. And people were like, well, why didn't you add him? He was like, it's so much better to just have him stumble upon it organically. And that's exactly what happened. I'm going through and I look and I see it. And that's why I quote tweeted. I said, what the hell, man? I was like, he could have added me, but it's so much better.
Like already people commenting under it. It's like 100 likes.
It's so good.
Like,
it's a great ratio. It's great. It's so good, bro. That's why Jordan understands comedy better because everybody's like, why don't you add that, man? And he's like, literally like, no, man. He needs to just stumble on it. And it's so good. It is so good, dude. I'll take it as long as he keeps making kicks. I don't care, man. I really will.
It's so good. I love it. It's one of my favorite inside jokes that we got going. The things that makes Jason Aponte. It's so good. I don't want it to ever go away. And regardless of what happens, we're still going to joke about it no matter what.
Oh yeah, of course. It's a running joke. It's a bit.
Absolutely. So obviously we spent a lot of time talking about the team. We spent a little bit of time looking forward at the Rams. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, look, good win, things to be concerned about, but negativity. Shout out to Rodrigo, man. Appreciate that. The negativity is a little bit overblown. Like, you're not going to find games like this in the NFL for anybody, basically, right? Like, you're not going to win games this easily. So they should be enjoyed when you win like that, when you win that dominantly. Like, after Christian McCaffrey runs in that touchdown in the second half, I literally went on autopilot. I was just like, this game's over, man. Like, and I kind of felt that way when it was 17-0. Yeah, I was like, we vibing. I was like, let's start making memes. Like, let's start joking around. Like, there's not really too much to watch right here.
You can relax early on in a 49er game for once.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. So again, it's important to remember that there aren't games like this, and it's okay to say, listen, there's not really too much to worry about right now. And then we'll evaluate it again next week, and that's what next week is about, and the week after that, So, but Brad, I'm eager for you to open up that underdog fantasy look so we can go through the results real quick because we did promise the people that are in the best ball league. Do you want me to do it?
Dude, I feel like such a boomer. Like I don't
You
even
are
know
a boomer on Underdog.
I'm such a boomer on Underdog. I'm like, I don't even know where to like find my score. Like I literally, I think it was Justin was like, bro, don't look. Like you're pretty close up there. I'm just like, I don't even know how to look at the score. Yeah, pull it up if you can. I can't even.
I will. Justin wasn't sure if it was all year or if it was just 1 week.
I didn't even know. Like, so we're not matching up against anyone. It's just who has the highest score of the entire week.
Correct.
And then it's whoever wins is who's had the most wins at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I'll pull it up right now. Let me just make sure I get to it. 2020 season, nope, 2023 season. Good God, where is it, man? Hold on, I'll get to it. But yeah, shout out to
get to it.
Yeah.
Gammon says, has the right side of the offensive line look like it did week 1 in practice, offseason, and preseason? I would actually say no. It looks like they kind of regressed a little bit in that game. Brock Purdy is a top 15 quarterback. Where do he and Kyle Shanahan rank in system quarterback pairings? Top 5, Tua McDaniels, Jalen Hurts.
Willie Will, are you sad that the Niners look better than the Eagles, you double agent? Hey man, Brad's a double agent for the Broncos. What the hell?
Did we win? Did we the Broncos?
No, you got Jimmy G'd.
Jimmy.
You got Jimmy G'd.
Man, he wanted to stomp out racism week 3 last year, but then he wanted to get a dub against my Denver Broncos.
That was not cool either, man. But you know what's the best part is Jimmy iced that game with his legs. And you know what's the best part is Raiders fans got their first glimpse of the Jimmy G experience.
Yeah.
And they were like, he got hurt early in the game. He left. He came back. He threw a bad interception in the red zone. But then he gets a chance to win the game, and then he wins it. And then they're looking at each other like, we got ourselves a guy here. And it's like, I know that look.
Like, oh, Jimmy's a dog. Like, he earned that respect.
I was like, I know that look. I've heard that one before. Like, I know. But look.
It's Jimmy roller coaster ride.
We literally predicted that too. Like, we were just like, I can't wait for him to win the first game. And them to just like completely, because remember, all they did was hate the pick, everything. I was like, bro, they're gonna go out there and beat the Broncos, and you're gonna be like, we got our guy, man. It was like the easiest thing to call. But I've got this up right now. If you want me to, take this from Gammon, and then I'll let me know when you want to add it to the screen.
Yeah, no, pull it up if you can.
Yep, I got it. Okay. So to Gammon's point, I just want to make sure I see it again. I don't know if you see it yet. You got to add it. I think you do. Has the right side of the O-line looked like it did in week 1 in practice? You would know that better than me, Brad. Preseason, we didn't get to see them too much. BP's a top 15 quarterback. I think that's fair. Where do he and Kyle Shanahan rank in system quarterback pairings? Probably top 5. And Tua and McDaniels are really good, man. Ooh, man. Tua's out. He's mad at everybody, huh?
Yeah, calling him fat all offseason. Getting cooked last year for the deep ball.
And then someone asked him, someone asked him today. They were like, do you believe that you still can't throw the ball? He was like 466 yards. He was like, what do you want me to say, bro? And I was just like, damn, I love the spiciness. But all right, as you see in front of you, Brad is 3rd. And Brad hated his team.
Hated it.
Brad is 3rd.
Every pick,
he scored 121.80 points. Jordan Love went off. Eckler and Derrick Henry were your 2 starters. You had Debo, you had Zay Flowers, Michael Pittman, and Darnell Mooney. Those were your 3 wide receivers in flex. And you got 6.5 from Luke Musgrave. That's how you did in this one. So that's the format is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a flex, and a tight end. So not bad, Brad. And by the way, I know you didn't watch that Bears game, but Musgrave was wide open. Love just led him a little too far. He caught it and he fell. He would have went right in. Yeah. JCE 3780, who's winning $34 right now. And second place, Tua, Etienne, Montgomery, and Ridley, who went off, Chase, Curtis Samuel, and Kendrick Bourne.
KB, you love me.
And Jawan Johnson. So that's your number 2, Dewan and only.
Jawan Johnson, huh?
Dewan and only. Number 1, he's up by 40 points right now. And he's currently winning $64 if these trends continue. Patrick Mahomes,
so we're trying to catch him now. Like,
yes,
he's in
we
the
have
league.
to catch him. We have to catch
him.
We have to make up.
with the most overall points at the end. The team with the most overall wins, they win the whole thing. Got it. Yep. I get it now.
So Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Jones, who went off, Miles Sanders were his 2 running backs, Tyreek Hill, good God, and Brandon Ayuk. Man alive, the top 2 scoring wide receivers, and I think the number one. Oh well, no, he had Mahomes because Tua was the number 1 scoring quarterback. Jordan Addison as well scored, and Nico Collins did well. Hayden Hurst, who caught Bryce Young's first touchdown pass, was his tight end. That's an electric start to the season. That's giving you a really good baseline.
All right, and we can't pick up we can't do waivers. There's no waivers.
No waivers. That's it. Nope.
So if my whole team gets hurt, my whole team's hurt. That's it.
That's the fun part. It's the fun part.
I have 0 control. So Eckler might be down, so I'm screwed.
But you've got other running backs that'll add. So but if you get a pop week from somebody else, like look, Kendrick Bourne, like scoring that many points is something that nobody saw coming. Like literally everybody was running to the waiver wire to pick him up. So, but that's the best part about best ball. You don't have to worry about when to start guys. When they pop, they go in your lineup, and that's how it works. So Underdog Fantasy, promo code Aponte if you want to do some daily drafts. We'll set that up as well too. Best ball's done. I tried to get one more in before the game started, but Underdog's a lot of fun, man. I think we'd have a lot of fun doing like a Sunday slate or something like that. So Goddard or Kittle for week 2, CMC and BA. Damn it. So Dallas Goddard put up a big fat 0 in week 1. Yeah, he put up a big fat 0. And he said, I know my fantasy.
Jason, because he was like, should I play Goddard or MVS? And I was like, maybe Goddard. And he's like, I'm feeling MVS. I'm like, you know what? Go with your gut. If you want MVS, go with MVS. Good thing you did.
I mean, because he got 0. But he said, I love that he said, yeah, my fantasy managers probably feel let down. And he's like, and I'm on my team. So he was like, you just move on to the next one. So this is kind of tough. Goddard on Thursday against Minnesota. My contention that this would be, Jason, is will Philly start dog walking Minnesota if they can't get anything going and that avalanche happens and they don't have to throw the ball, right? But
I did see Kenneth Gainwell looks like he's going to be out.
He's out. So it'll be DeAndre Swift and the guy that I'm kind of just like everybody's laying in the weeds and ask Justin Boston Scott. Everybody's just like, oh, it's DeAndre Swift. I'm like, dude, no team like goes in on DeAndre Swift. They always go away from him. Boston Scott. But Jason, this is what I'm
sleeping on Trey Sermon?
He's on IR.
Oh, is he?
he's sleeping in the crib. But
Jason, you know what?
I'm out of here. You know what? I'm out of here. No, Jason, here's the thing. If you believe in squeaky wheel games, like he didn't get anything and they have to do a better job of getting the ball out there, then I think you would go with Goddard. The hard part with all of this with the 49ers is BA is going to go off and do his thing, but then you're risking that you miss out on those Kittle 2 touchdown games. So I think it depends on what you believe in. I would be more inclined to see a squeaky wheel game from Goddard, but I'm super afraid that Philly is going to wash Minnesota tomorrow night. And they're not going to have to throw the ball, and they're going to be able to chill. But look, I would play Swift if you have him, but Boston Scott is always like that Undertaker meme. Like, it's the guy in front of him, and it's like me with DeAndre Swift, and Boston Scott is Undertaker. Like, that's kind of like how I feel about them. They're always unpredictable. I mean, they started Gainwell, and Gainwell looks like to be the guy.
And also something to think about, too, is that now that Brandon Ayuk has clearly, what do you have, 8 receptions, 129 yards, and 2 touchdowns? That's going to impact the way a defensive coordinator starts to change the hierarchy of dang, who we got to pay attention to. Where are we going to let Ayuk beat us deep, or are we going to let Kittle beat us underneath? And that could lead to more PPR receptions potentially if they're more concerned about getting beat over the top by Ayuk. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the 49ers from a fantasy perspective are treated week to week, because we know right now the one constant is CMC. He's going to get the rock regardless, but it's like the pass catchers, which one of them is going to have the day each and every week?
This one feels like a get Deebo Samuel involved game against the Los Angeles Rams.
He always plays really well against the Rams.
This one feels like a Deebo Samuel go off on the Rams game. just because
I think
of the
these guys have extra juice. I saw Kittle talking about it today on his podcast. He was like, it's Rams week. There's just a different vibe. There's a different energy when it's the Rams. Like, they really don't like the Rams. And so everyone, I think, is going to be ready for this one. I think they want to take it to them.
Yep. I think this is a Debo game. They're going to find a way. They tried early on, right? Like, they gave him the jet sweep they ran that orbit motion, and they just the back handoff that they started running in 2021 with Jimmy. They started that early in the game, but then they noticed Ayuk was just like running all over. But I do think this is kind of like a force it to Debo, kind of get Debo the ball type of game.
Could be. Brian says Steelers content creators were still hating on Purdy.
Right.
Is he still underrated? How is Pickett ranked above Purdy on Fox list?
I thought that was I don't know if that was the Fox list, but I saw the 33rd team.
33rd team.
The 33rd team. Yeah, QB class had like Jimmy and a bunch of guys. Tannehill had Tannehill over Purdy as well too.
I might even bring it up.
You know what? Look, that list obviously is meant to put out and to get strong emotions because without context, I'd like to at least hear him out.
That's kind of what lists are, right? Lists are going, especially league-wide lists.
Right.
They, in their nature, are going.
You're never going to make everybody happy.
Never. No, there's going to be someone who's going to be pissed off about it, regardless.
I'd really like to hear the context as to why. Like, I'd love to hear. I mean, not that I'm going to agree with him, but like, if you can somewhat at least make an argument where I say, okay, I see what you mean, but I don't agree with you. That would make me feel better. So like when you put out this list, it's literally meant to like get everybody upset. I mean, you just saw that Purdy played much better than Pickett, and somehow Pickett rose up the board, and yet Purdy didn't rise up enough.
Dropped probably.
Right. And like Jordan Love played very well, actually. That is very deserved, man. He did some things that I didn't know. Does that have to do with the Bears? But I like some of the eye manipulation that he was using in that game as well too, because I was super interested in watching that film over again. And I think, again, he was doing that same thing that Purdy was kind of doing, was like, I'm looking left. I know that I'm going to bang this in the middle of the field. And it's just like he holds the safety and he opens up that window and he puts it on him. So, I mean, I think week to week, you're going to see things shuffle. But 23 certainly feels low for the way that Brock Purdy's played. I guess the way that he's thinking about it is the lack of sample size. And that's the only thing that I could think of. But even with the lack of sample size, I still just don't think that Ryan Tannehill's that good.
Geno Smith, number 10. Tannehill,
man, really?
13.
How is Smith
Mac
over
Jones,
Tua after this
15.
This week?
So that's what I'm saying. Like, Tua was a riser. Tannehill still dropped. Geno rose, but that's probably because Tannehill dropped out somehow. None of these guys changed positionings. So I'm assuming what it is with the ups and downs is he had a preseason list, and this is just how he's manipulating it. And, it's a tool meant to generate.
And again, I disagree. Like, don't yell at me about this. I disagree with this. I'm just trying to figure out what he's thinking. I'm just trying to get in his mind. Like that's it. Like I'm not agreeing. He literally beat Pickett. I'm seeing him operate this offense better than Garoppolo, which would automatically put him over him. I think right now he's already shown things that Justin Fields hasn't shown, as much as I love him. And I don't think much of Ryan Tannehill. So I'm not saying that I agree. I'm just trying to figure out how he got to this conclusion.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting list. There's a lot of questions, but hey, that means he's putting out a good list from a content perspective, engagement.
And Watson's like 15th, right, or something like that, or 14th, something like that.
Let me see. Wait,
he is. Wow, Purdy over Watson. Wow, that's
Watson's 25.
Well, all right. I guess. All right. And again, I'm trying to put myself in his brain. I guess it's him still trying to see flashes of the Watson that you saw in Houston. I don't know, man. I don't know. I have no idea. And this list is QB class. I don't know his name. Derek Klassen. And feel free to yell at him on Twitter.
Speaking of quarterback rankings, we had Micah Parsons come out and say that he believes Brock Purdy is a top 15 quarterback and that there's no more sleeping on Brock Purdy. What did you think about Micah Parsons' comments on that?
I don't trust it. I don't trust it. That feels like gamesmanship. I don't trust it. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't trust
totally
agree. You sneaky Parsons. You
trying to let the guard down, right? Like, oh, that's my pal. That's my buddy.
He's really good, man.
He's phenomenal. I was like, he earned my respect, but in the back of my head, I was like, what are you really saying?
I think you're kind of hoping that Purdy says, oh, well, he thinks I'm really good. Like, I mean, he's not going to do that, but I don't trust it, man. I don't trust it. I don't trust anything that comes out of a Cowboy's mouth. I don't trust it. I don't like it either. I would rather Micah Parsons said that Purdy.
Yeah, we want a Pat Pete part 2. Like,
right. Like, I would rather Parsons say, man, I still don't trust it. I don't think Purdy's that guy. That's what I wanted to hear. I don't want to hear that I don't want to hear him. I don't want to hear him complimenting. This guy thinks he's slick. That's that reverse mojo thing.
Yep.
It's like that scene in Talladega Nights when he's like, I'm confused by your tactics, but I'm gonna still keep being hostile just in case. Like, I don't trust it.
I love very thin pancakes. That's it. No, but it's like what's his name does all the time. Up in Seattle, Pistol Pete. You know?
Yeah. Every player that he faces is the greatest player, and every player that he has is the greatest player of all time. He doesn't hate any player that's ever played in the NFL ever.
Because you don't want to stir up the hornet's nest. Just like perfect example, Pat Pete, what he did. He didn't say all that much, but he said enough.
Before the Week 5 game, here's what we need to do. Because we can make that fake tweet generator.
Oh.
We make a fake tweet of Micah Parsons being like, Brock Purdy's not like that, and y'all need to stop hyping him. And then we'll be like, and then we could be like, look, Brock, look what he said about you.
It's a great point now that you bring that up, because he said something about the 49ers before last year's, I think it was playoff game. And I remember, like, obviously taking it and running with it. And my guess is he's probably learned from that situation, because we cooked them. We roasted him for a tweet that he said about the San Francisco 49ers, you know, kind of downplaying how good they've been and all that type of stuff. And we cooked them for it. So that's funny. That's actually funny because I forgot about that. But there's some dots to connect there. I think you might be spot on with the gamesmanship.
Fake tinfoil hat.
I think you might be spot on. I'm even looking for that tweet.
The fake tweet generator is so elite, because Rich Madrid was talking about how he was higher on everybody, and I made a fake one of him saying, I don't get the hype on Mahomes. Mahomes isn't that special. That was right, Brad.
Quality.
Perfect. Everyone was literally like, oh, you got cooked. Yeah, because you can literally, when you
were like, this would be totally something Rich would say.
You make the fake tweet, you put his it puts his face there, it puts Twitter from iPhone, it'll put the date, everything. You could even create how many quote tweets, all of that stuff. It looks so real. Yeah, it looks so real, man. It's so good. You got to use it wisely, because if you go overboard, everybody's gonna know it's fake.
All right, I absolutely love this plan that you're concocting, and I'm on board.
Let's go
with it. So before Week 5, we're gonna generate some Micah Parsons slander.
Yeah. Maybe during the time that Iowa State was playing, and he's watching the game, and he's like, Brock Purdy will never be a successful quarterback in the NFL, and I stand on that. We can like bring it back to a day that Brock Purdy was playing football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, okay, so it's not as bad as I thought it was. He said something along the lines of, like, I don't know if you can see it. My turn. Tired of the talking. See y'all Sunday. 1-0. And I took it, and it wasn't that bad. But we somehow used it to our advantage.
Hashtag fake tweet. Hashtag
fake tweet gate. I'm down for it, man. I think we all get on board too. Like it's a plan. We get it going. We'll even get a response out of them, because
imagine I didn't tweet that. I'm gonna oh yeah,
tweet that. Oh yeah, pal, we got the receipts right here.
Look, what about this? Got his ass.
And it has to be Purdy related. Just taking a shot at Purdy's something. We got to figure it out.
Yep.
Justin says, just want to say I'm fourth right behind you, Brad. Okay.
Coming.
Okay. I can't see it in the rankings because I'm a boomer, but
Justin, the problem is the problem is I love the vision with the Kyron Williams pick. Unfortunately, he goes up against a very stout 49ers defense and may not have much room to run and operate today. So I wouldn't expect a big performance from him.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. Again, another big game at Levi's South.
You going?
I'm undecided. I want to go. I don't know, chat. Should I go? Should I go to Levi South? Make
I'm
my
trying to figure out the plug for
pilgrimage.
I'm getting the plug answer in a bit. But I think I am gonna see you for the home opener though. But
Hell yeah. You better get your behind out here to the Bay.
I'm definitely going because I want to see the 49ers smack the Giants so I can come back over to the East Coast.
Yeah, there's some added
and lose it on these Giants fans.
Yeah. All right. The chat's saying I should go.
They're saying you should go.
I've never been to Levi South, so it would be my first pilgrimage to our vacation home.
Yeah.
And I want to experience them.
I've been there twice. I saw the Chargers preseason game that year, and then I went to the NFC Championship game. God damn it!
All right.
Yeah, I know.
I'm thinking about going. Yeah. I got a lot of games on my calendar that I want to go to, so I'm like, I got to be strategic with it. Like, I kind of wanted to go to Pittsburgh, but then it was like, I got to go all the way across country. I was like, I don't know if I want to start week 1 on that.
I think I got the home opener and the Bengals game circled.
Okay.
That Bengals game is going to be lit.
I want to go to that Minnesota game too, because that's a primetime game as well. And that stadium looks so sick to me. Yeah, I got to figure it out because we're going to home stretch. We're going to have New York Giants Thursday night football, so it's primetime. Arizona Cardinals at home, then the Cowboys at home primetime.
That's a good game to go to too. I think you're going to that one for sure.
Absolutely. And then it's the road trip, Browns, Vikings. Then you're talking about coming back out for Bengals, right?
I want to go to the Bengals game, man.
You want to see Joe Burr?
I think that's going to be a very good game, man.
Yeah. That Cowboys game is going to be nuts.
I know. I didn't even want to mention it because I was like, what was the second game I went to at SoFi? And I was like, oh, right.
Oh, right.
Almost $1,000. Damn it.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, man.
Pain. We were so close.
Yep.
We got one more super chat here on our way out. We got Bass saying David
said you can't go to the Rams game because you got to be in Denver that Sunday.
Hey, I'm splitting time. Between my two teams.
Oh my God.
Over under Bosa sacks. TJ sheds double blockers.
Yeah. What did he get last year? 19 and a half?
Is this for the year?
Yeah, I think he's talking about for the year. 19 and a half?
He had 18.5.
18. So set it at last year's total.
Over under 18 and a half?
Yeah.
Which did that lead the league in sacks still?
I think so, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it still did. So
he didn't get one.
He could have. He got held.
Yeah. Yep.
So he almost got one, but of course got held and didn't get the sack. But he'll have multiple sack games. So you know what's going to happen. And especially once they have to start accounting for all the stunting that's happening. And I really do think from a Bosa perspective, I would have to imagine he was gassed.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hearing Fred Warner talk about how gassed he was in that game, I'm like, well, I wonder how Bosa was.
And he played like 32 snaps, I believe, out of the 63.
Yeah, so I think Bosa he'll come out ready to go. I think he'll use that as motivation and stuff like that. I think he'll have.
What is the last game that I went to that the Niners won? Philly. Not that NFC game.
Definitely wasn't the Packers game.
Definitely wasn't the Packers game. Me and Brad were there for that. Philly, I think and they lost in Atlanta. My God, maybe you know what? I'm not going anymore. I'm not going anymore, man. They lost in Atlanta. They lost in the NFC title. I'm not going anymore.
I was undefeated at home at Levi's until I went to a game with Jason.
Shut up, Brad. Why are you gonna put that on me? Why are you gonna put that on me, man?
Yeah, I'm just saying. No, but no, you're out. We're gonna make sure that is not the case week 3, right? Right? No.
I'm not even gonna watch them on the TV like that. Like that's it, bro. Like I'm just gonna sit in the dark and then look at the phone and be like, oh, they won, cool.
See, we're gonna come on after the New York Giants play, 49ers winner. I'm like, see, Jason's in the clear. We're good.
And I'm gonna be like, and then I'm gonna do my post game. They're gonna be like, so what happened in the game? I'm like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. Somehow we're almost 2 hours in. I don't even know how this happens. But somehow we find a way to do it. So shout out to all you guys as always for tapping in with our live every Wednesday. As you guys know, we sub or we stream from both our channels. So make sure you like and sub to both. Any parting words, Jason, before we get out of here before the 2 hour mark?
No, man, it was a good game. Get ready for the Rams. I think the 49ers are going to win. Check out every day, something on Niners Nation. Check out all the shows on both streams, man. And shout out to you guys. It's time to be excited. There's actual football to talk about. It's a fun time, man. Fun time.
Absolutely. 49ers look good at the top of the power rankings. I'm ready to keep it rolling, keep the good momentum, keep the good juju vibing. So appreciate everyone, as always, for tapping in. That's it for us today, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Peace. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now.